Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I'll be reviewing the second film in the Lone Wolf and Cub franchise, Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart at the River Styx. Before going any further, though, please be sure to smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey, and also please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel and have that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video goes live on the channel. So continuing on in my Japanese cinema series of reviews, which appears to be never ending because I'm just having so much fun, let's talk about this second film. Now, I was not a huge fan of the first movie in this franchise. I thought that it was a little bit too artsy for me. Also, I did not really like the excessive random nudity that really served no purpose to the story whatsoever. And even though there are a couple of moments like that also in this movie, I actually think I enjoyed this movie a lot more because it seemed that it focused a little bit more on the aspect of the character of the lone wolf being more of an assassin, and also how the little cub plays a role in this process as well, kind of being this assistant assassin in certain ways, and I really did appreciate that. And again, the nudity was not nearly as prominent in this one as it had been in previous ones. What is incredibly prominent in this specific movie is, of course, the really random, excessive spurting blood, very unrealistic, and things that, again, kind of just overall bother me because I have always been someone who has, as I've been going through the series of movies, starting, of course, with the amazing films by Akira Kurosawa, I've always appreciated a lot more of the realism, the focus on tradition, the focus on, actual historical time periods and being pretty faithful to those time periods, or at least appearing to be faithful to those time periods and what things would be like. And I'm not saying that this does not necessarily have those elements to it, but it does also kind of make its way into kind of the ridiculous in a lot of different ways when someone's body part gets chopped off, or when there's a cut across the chest. Literally, it's just the spurting of blood. I imagine that you probably have a lot of influence here that was given to someone like, over time, eventually to a Tarantino. I could see Tarantino being influenced by this style of movie. And someone in one of the comments on the last review I did on the first movie here said that they themselves were a fan of this type of genre, this more exploitation type genre. And I guess that got me thinking to realize, because everything that I've read, at least in the basic synopsis, didn't really point this out as being a type of exploitation movie, but it does make a little bit more sense if one thinks of it in that way. And also, I think that it just helps to understand, at least from my own perspective, a bit more about why I'm not really as big of a fan of this series of movies, is because exploitation type movies really aren't my thing. As you all know, I'm a Catholic school teacher, and so those are the kinds of movies that kind of go against a lot of the things that I personally hold on to and attest to. That all being said, I did actually enjoy this film a bit more because there was a lot more focus on martial arts. You still have the actor here who, again, I think does a great job as far as the acting is concerned, Tomisaburo Wakayama. I think that he, of course, does a great job as far as the acting. Even the small little child, I think, also does a pretty good job of just being really cute. But there's sometimes moments where he's doing these random flips, and I'm looking at his body type, and I'm like, there's just no way that's realistic. And as I said, I like a little bit more realism in my movies. Not to say that I don't mind, fantastical elements. Obviously, this is based off of a manga series, and I don't mind having those types of moments in there necessarily, but there's just a moment where you have just too much going on, I think. And I think this film, once again, kind of shows that. And in this situation, you have the characters continuing to go on their journey. They are now hired by people, right? They are now hired by people to be able to essentially kill somebody who happens to know a lot about a certain type of dye, an indigo dye, and if the person makes it across to the end of their journey, they will be able to share their secrets, and it'll cost this specific area tons of money. And so they are hired out to find this person and to kill them. And along the way, they have to kill this group of female assassins, who is led by an insane woman, to put it at the very least, an way over the top insane woman. And then also at the very end, he has to defeat these three samurai masters who all have their own thing. One has Iron Fist, who, with like a bunch of spikes on the end of it. One has actual like claws. And then the other has an item that they can literally throw at you and pull things off of you and things like that. And so those fight sequences were actually pretty fun for the most part, I would say. But there is this one random fight sequence with, again, as I mentioned, this crazy woman who appears in the movie, where she essentially jumps out of her clothing. And it was at that moment, especially, where I'm like, I just really am not feeling the unrealistic fighting that can happen in a lot of these sequences. Again, literally jumps out of her entire kimono. And then runs away. And it's in the most comical fashion that she runs away. Literally, she's running backwards, and the camera keeps cutting back and forth. And that's another thing that this film features a lot more than the first film, is these really over-the-top, like, really crazy zooms and zoom and cut back and cut back and cut back and cut back. And again, I've seen a lot of these as far as the impact that type of filmmaking has had on films that came a bit later. But that's just the kind of stuff that just drives me crazy, because it's just a bit more artistic, and I'm not a big fan of the artistic style films. I like films that again, make some sense, that might have some fantastical elements to them, but at the very end, they do fit within this world. Like, for instance, I've been loving the Zatoichi franchise. There's only been one film so far that I haven't really liked, and one of the reasons why I didn't like it is because it went a little bit more artistic in its filming style, and it ended up just not being a film that I think translated well. Luckily, the film right after, which I'm still watching and will finish and review, and I think another one or two films to review in that series still, I was at least able to be like, oh, thank goodness they were like, okay, we're not going to do that again, and we're gonna focus more so on what made this franchise and what keeps that franchise continuing to be successful. What is interesting, though, one thing that I think is actually pretty cool, and I thought I had recognized the name every time that I had seen the credits to this series of movies with Lone Wolf and Cub, was that Shintaro Katsu, who plays the blind swordsman in Zatoichi, is a producer on this and the first movie. And then I did a quick little bit of research, and apparently he is the brother of the lead character in this movie, Tomisaburo Wakayama. So obviously, like, the names there would never have had me think that they were actually related to each other, let alone brothers, but apparently they were brothers. So it's kind of interesting that they both had their own successful franchises in a way. Obviously Shintaro with the much more successful one, but also too, that in one of the Zatoichi films, his brother is actually featured, and they actually fight. And it's actually that role that eventually led to him being in the role of Lone Wolf and Cub. So I thought that those connections there were more interesting than the actual, I think, film itself. As I said, I do enjoy this one a little bit more than the first one because there's less nudity, but as I said, it still is just a bit too much for me. Overall, though, I'm going to have to give this film a B-, just like I did the first movie, because in the end, it's better, but only marginally so. I just don't really feel like these are movies that I would ever want to rewatch, because the filmmaking techniques are just distracting and annoying, and it's really getting hard for me to justify continuing watching this series, to be perfectly honest, especially since people have been saying, oh, wait till you get to this movie. If you thought this one was bad with the nudity and sexuality, etc., just wait till you get to this next one. And I guess I'm just still bothered, too, by that first movie, because as I mentioned in the first review I did of the first film, there's a scene where literally a woman is being raped in front of him, and he just stands there. And this is a guy who we find out at the very end literally has these weapons built into the actual cart, built into the actual pram holding his son, where if he had wanted to do something, he totally could have. And the person in the comments said, oh, this was all to build up to this awesome fight scene at the very end, and he does things on his own. It's like, okay, I get that, but we literally had to watch a woman get treated, I don't know, just that is still, again, has bothered me a lot. And I'm just not really digging it personally. But obviously, a lot of y'all disagree with that. So let me know your thoughts about this series in the comment section below, especially in that pinned comment. And let me know where am I getting this wrong? What am I missing when it comes to this series? Again, loving the Zatoichi series, except for the one with the chest of gold. But this one, it's very, very difficult for me to want to go any further into it. But anyway, post your comments in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button. It really does mean a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. Now for a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon and Subscribestar members: Andrew Hoyle, Biffer the Hobbit, Brian P., Dion, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Laura, the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, and rather Teresa Martin is Miss Martin Muses now, Tina Bojan, Tina B., and Washington Madranda. Thank y'all very much for being my supporters on Patreon. And to my Subscribestar peeps: Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / The New Number 2, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nevanon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for being my Subscribestar members. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream, please consider joining on Patreon or Subscribestar. You also get access at other tiers to things like a bi-monthly podcast, bi-weekly, twice a month podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger, which is a lot of fun. There's also a tier in which you can join me once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where you all get to, at that level, join me for discussions, talk about any projects that you might be working on, or just hang out and have a good time. It's a lot of fun. And also, too, for many of those levels, you also get access to a giveaway section on the Discord server, where you get access to giveaways of things like 4K movies, digital codes, and tons of other stuff like that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out the links in the description and sign up over on Patreon and Subscribestar. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.